Well, up next, we got the Daily 3. That's 3 questions, 3 minutes. Take it away, Sam.
More Vikings OTA talk. This is one interesting observation I made yesterday. The right guard spot rotated between Jesse Davis and Chris Reed, a couple of veterans they brought in. We didn't see Wyatt Davis. We didn't see Oli Udoh, who was the right guard last year. So, Ron, I ask you this. Are Davis and even Udo, are either of them in danger of not making this roster?
Yeah. Anytime that you don't solidify your spot in the NFL, you are subject to being released. And this is the thing. Rent is due in the NFL. That's what I always hear that when I was with the Ravens. Rent is due in the NFL, and it's due every day. This is not a weekly rent. This is not a monthly rent. Every day. One of our special teams assistants, he used to say that was mainly with special teams guys too. Every day. Because like stars, like Ray Lewis, his rent might be due yearly. When you're a big time guy like Jamal Lewis, running back, 2,000 yards in a season, 296, 295 yards in a game, his rent might be due every 3 or 4 months. But when you're on the special teams, every day. And so when you look at those guys, offensive linemen specifically, they don't really contribute to special teams besides field goal or extra point. But they're not in the, and not to say that's not important. Those are very important, especially for Minnesota sports fans. The kicking game is extremely important because every game is coming down to a kick when it matters the most, it feels like in Minnesota. And so when you think about the core special teams, the ones that get a ton of run up and down the field practice, punt, kickoff return, and punt return. Those are kind of the 4 that, when you look at teams, as they call it, those are when you're going to have your DBs, your receivers, your linebackers. That's when you're looking at who's that 5th receiver, who's that 9th, 10th DB, who's that 6th, 7th, 8th possible, outside linebacker, defensive end. That's how you make it. But when you're offensive lineman, you just got to solidify that you're a true backup. You're a true swing guy. You're a guy that if somebody goes down in a game or gets COVID, you can possibly start and help the team out in that next game. And so I can see why Jesse Davis and Chris Reed are up there right now, because Wyatt Davis showed us nothing last year. And Oli Udoh, he was in there. Didn't do great, didn't do bad, but didn't do great. And that's the problem. If you're getting pushed back into the quarterback, if you're responsible for a lot of big time, highlights from inside guys like Aaron Donald and, all these inside guys, push Puna forward, they're pushing through on you, Chris Jones, and all of a sudden you're the highlight, and again, Akeem Hicks is a different beast. I can't get mad at you getting pushed back by Akeem Hicks, but when that happens too many times, you end up where you're at. And these coaches don't know those 2 guys. But what they do is watch film and they listen to the scouts. And that's why they are where they are. So, yes, they are subject to being cut.
Yeah, I'm worried about Davis. I mean, we saw nothing last year and nothing so far in the early stages this year. I think that Udo might have a place because he can be one of those 4-position swing guys. He can probably play both guard spots. He could play the tackle spots. And Rashad Hill's gone. So they do need a swing tackle. So I think Udo could play a backup role. I don't know what Davis's flexibility is, but I'm worried about Wyatt Davis. NBA draft lottery last night. Here are the top 3 picks. The Magic, the Thunder, the Rockets, and of course, Chet Holmgren, the Minnehaha product. He is eligible to be taken in those top 3 picks. Maybe number 1, 2, 3. We don't know yet. Ron, where do you think Chet winds up in the NBA?
Honestly, I think Magic, only for the simple fact of it's between him and Paolo Banchero. Jay Ivey is also a guy out of Purdue, and then the guard out of I think it's Arthur Smith or something out of Auburn. You're not gonna see the Magic take a guard, so I think Jay Ivey is out. Why? Because they already have a Jay Ivey. They have Jalen Suggs. They also have the kid out of I think North Carolina, the left-handed kid, or he's at North Carolina, I think, or UConn or something, but the left-handed guard from one of those blue bloods, but he's there. So when you already have 2 guards in your system, you don't need a Jay Ivey. What do you need? You need a Paolo Banchero or you need a Chet Holmgren. Now, what is the NBA about? NBA is about friends always wanting to play together. You look at karl-Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, D'Angelo Russell. They've been trying to play together. Did not work out because they got Anthony Edwards, which I think was just fine. Definitely not a Devin Booker type shooter, but Anthony Edwards gets the job done. He's a star in this league. When you see the fact of like LeBron wanting to play with Carmelo and D Wade and all these guys because he became friends with them in the draft process. Well, Chet Holmgren has a bigger friendship with Jalen Suggs. They went to high school together. They grew up together. They played for Team Sizzle Grassroots together. They didn't play together in college, but went to the same college. Probably, I mean, Chet probably went there because of the connection to Jalen Suggs and the recruiting that Gonzaga did with the Minnesota area so far, or at least that school and that AAU team specifically with Team Sizzle. So I can see the Magic taking them because it's like if they already had chemistry, if they already know each other, you're now adding not just a young piece, you're adding a piece that, one can shoot. He can spread the floor out, so he can take like if he has to guard, and that's the other thing though. I don't know who he's going to guard in the NBA because when you look at like, let's just say Giannis, the Greek freak, he has no chance of stopping Giannis from doing what Giannis does. Like no chance in hell ever. Like until he gets his grown man body, because he's only like 19. So once he eats and gets a little stronger, which I don't think he'll ever truly get like Giannis strong, but who knows? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of milk out there. There's a lot of new supplements out there. I'm pretty sure a bunch of sponsors that do protein shakes are going to come after him. And then maybe he'll all of a sudden be this, slim bodybuilder. But that's where I struggle with who can he guard. Now, the other question people always say, well, who can guard him? True. He's gonna play up top. He's gonna, he can shoot threes. He can shoot that easy free throw line jumper, but he can spread the floor out to take the four out of there so that Jalen Suggs can get in there and create. And I think that's going to be the key. Whoever gets him, the Thunder, the Rockets, I just don't know. I'd see the Magic for the friendship. Because of Paolo Banchero, that could be another option because he, in my opinion, is the best player in the draft.
Yeah, and when you think about, drafting a guy who has good chemistry with Jalen Suggs, I'm looking at the Magic roster, and just to give you an idea of their mindset, they brought in a couple brothers to their team too. They've got Franz Wagner and Moritz Wagner, just because of that family connection. And I think Chet and Jalen are as close as you can get to another family connection with all of their history together. I remember watching them play in high school, throwing alley-oops off the backboard to each other. They were electric. So I would love to see that tandem. That would be sweet. I have a Packers question for you, Ron. Jair Alexander signs the biggest cornerback deal in the NFL, $21 million per year. So that's a good extension for the Packers. They keep a really good player on their defense. However, they've lost za'darius Smith. They've lost Chandon Sullivan to the Vikings. They've lost Oren Burks. So their defense is a bit depleted, even though they're keeping Jair Alexander around long term. You think the Packers defense is going to be better or worse this year?
Well, they also got Devante Campbell. They signed him to, I think, a $50 million deal as well. I think for the Packers, honestly, they were ready to be done with za'darius. I mean, I know he's a Viking, and we think he can be really good, and he was good when he's healthy. And I think that's where the Packers mentally are. Chandon Sullivan, he was a piece of the puzzle, but he wasn't the puzzle. He's one of the corner pieces that hey, if I don't finish this puzzle because I'm missing a corner piece, hey, it's still a puzzle. I still can see the main picture. The main picture is Aaron Rodgers. I think that's where they care about. That's why they let Devontae Adams go. They feel like they have enough key pieces that they're still going to be good. They still have Matt LaFleur, one of the smartest coaches I've seen when you look at offensive play calling, creation, formations, getting the same look, but different plays, getting the same play, but different looks. He's really good at that when you break down. I can't wait you remember year what that was. I think it was a COVID year, but I think they ran 19 plays, and it was 11 different formations that I counted in that 19 plays, which is crazy. And so when you look at that, when you look at all the things he can do, I think they're thinking look, man, we're an offensive minded team. We have a great quarterback. Our defense just has to be okay. Jair Alexander, he had a good season. Justin Jefferson did eat him up. But that's I think where they're thinking hey, it's hard to get good corners out there. So many teams have shown that now. When you don't have good corners, you just get killed. And so for the Packers defense, I don't think there's going to be a drop off. I think they're going to be just fine. Like I said, the za'darius thing for them, it was the injury last year anyway, so they didn't really have them. Chandon Sullivan wasn't one of their main staples. I think they signed the guys they wanted to keep. I think Devante Campbell was kind of their next. I mean, he's their 5-year guy now. Like he's their guy. He's the guy they think can really get up to the quarterback and really play that middle of the field. Can really be a hammer and take running backs out when they hit the hole. So no, I think they'll be fine. I think it's gonna be a good battle between the Vikings and the Packers. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the Packers offense is their best defense when they're constantly playing from ahead, give the defense an opportunity to rush the passer. I think what you said about the Packers applies to the Vikings. You know, you just try to be an offensive minded team and have the defense be okay instead of bottom 5, and you're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, Steve Weiss said it. We've heard so many people say it now. Like that's where the Vikings are going to become. Like, and that's why I asked all these guys, Kevin O'Connell, is he the next Matt LaFleur? Is he the next Zach Taylor? Like, is he that name up there? I think he has the mental capacity. He's a former quarterback. He's a connector of players. So yeah, I like that situation with Kirk Cousins and Kevin O'Connell. They get along. When you feel like you can walk into your coach's office, just have a normal conversation about anything, I think that's the key. I think Mike Zimmer was a little bit tense, and that starts to wear on you mentally long term. And that's what happened to Kirk Cousins. I think it just started to wear on him. It got to him. It got to the team. You know, to hear so many guys say that. Now it's a new era. It's a breath of fresh air. And so now this Packers Vikings game is going to be fun. It's going to be two young coaches going at it. And it's going to be about gamemanship. You know, how can we get after the quarterback, but how can I stop you from getting after my quarterback? And that's going to be the name of the game going forward.